Okay, so here's an example of rule-based advertising. So I go to, I have an iPhone, and I use iTunes a lot, so I'm looking at audiobooks. Everything on my phone is audiobook. Well, I started noticing all of a sudden I'm getting rebranded from Audible on books that I was looking at on the iTunes store. So they're tracking my cookies somehow. They're being aware of what I'm looking at, and then they're positioning the advertising to fit with who I am and what I'm up to. Well, I also checked out what his pricing was on his coaching, and now I'm getting advertised by Tom Ferry, which is very targeted. It makes a lot of sense. If a person goes to his page looking at one-on-one coaching, well, I should rebrand that message to them, right? And then agent locators down here, they know I'm an agent in the Toronto area. So if you guys have seen this, the rule on that is, well, we're targeting all of the GTA and people who have expressed online that they're a realtor. So all of the, oh, and here's another example. I was searching for a hotel, and as soon as I switched back to Facebook, the ads were the hotels in the city I was going to. So they dialed it down to, if a person is on our website and they look at Calgary hotels, when they go back to Facebook, we want to position our ad for Calgary hotels. So we can do the same as a real estate industry. You guys can do that. You can create rules that if a person lands on my website and they look at the house value page, well, when they leave, I want them to see my house value message if they haven't filled in the form. So I'm going to be talking about that in greater detail. And so this is another example. Who's seen these ads? Rule-based advertising. They're targeting you guys specifically because I knew most hands would go up because they're being pretty aggressive in the GTA as far as if you say you're a realtor, you're going to be seeing these ads. And it's based on the rule of what have you looked at online and what's your profile on Facebook, what's your profile on Twitter. So they're looking at all these demographics and they're breaking it down and channeling advertising that fits the message of who you are as people. And the three biggest ones for us to leverage, I mean there's tons, but the three biggest that we can get business from as a real estate community is definitely Twitter, Facebook, and Google. And I'm going to start with Twitter because Twitter to most people and Twitter to me, it's not really a source of business until you look at what I'm about to show you. So you can now advertise on Twitter. Canada couldn't advertise on Twitter a year and a half ago. You could, but you could only target people in the States. Now you can target people on Twitter who are in Ontario. So they don't have it broken down by city just yet, but you can target the province and you can target all of Canada. Well, you can target these based on keywords. So what are the people searching? So as an example, if a person tweets, I'm moving to Toronto, you can create that as a rule. So that if anybody tweets, I'm moving to Toronto, now they see my ad. So you're not advertising to everybody. You're just setting up that one trigger and you're going to go into Twitter advertising. You can just Google search Twitter ads. It'll pop up to the page. And you literally just fill in step by step what's the ad I'm going to target and who am I going to target to. In this example, I would say if a person says moving to Toronto or relocating to Toronto, even though I can only target all of Ontario, that's fine. If this person is telling me they're moving to this part of the country, now my ad will show. So as an example, if you guys tweet anything about rebarcamp, it will trigger my ad that says that this session is being recorded. Yes?
Daniel, how much does it cost for this?
So cheap, because nobody uses Twitter, right? Really. And so you could do this, so this campaign I'm going to do for Rebar, it'll probably cost me like $9 for the whole week. Wow. So that's really cheap, but people are going to keep seeing it, and then I'm going to get their information when they want the video, and yeah.
Does it track how many people see it?
Yeah.
Kind of like Facebook?
It tracks how many people saw the post, so in my opinion, free advertising if it's a branding message. It also tracks the people that retweeted and favorited and liked your page because of it, and how many people clicked from it to get to your website. So it tracks all of that, yeah.
So one of the top trending, and it has been hashtags, is real estate. So now what I'm finding is hashtag real estate, every single person's using it.
Yes.
Because you want to show up, so how do you kind of, I guess, bring that down a bit or stand out when that is you want to use it, but then how do you stand out with that hashtag, or do you put a few?
Right, so I don't actually tweet for people to find. I will, if you look at my profile, it'll have like 70 posts.
So you post for your followers, not to
No, not even, because I don't, no, I only post for advertising. So I'll post something and then channel it to the right people, and that's all. fair bit. So when I do a post, and so I targeted the conferences. So I targeted the REMAX R4, and I said if anybody tweets or searches anything about REMAX R4, I want them to see my blog post about the Brokerage Nation service that we have for managers. And then I also do the same thing for the Keller Williams Family Reunion, Realtor Quest, and this conference here. So if anybody tweets any of those hashtags, that will trigger my ad. But when I post my ad, even though I might have those in it, I mean, it lasts for 10 seconds and it's at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
So I don't care at all
Okay.
about that. But when you're doing the keywords, you can say, what are they searching and what are they tweeting? If they do any of that, and you have to put it in quotations, because if you just put relocating to Toronto and it doesn't have the quotation, then it could be like a whole sentence. As long as it has those words in it, it will trigger the ad, and that may not be the best fit. So I always put everything in quotations because I know if they search that, then they should see my ad. You can also do interest-based followers. So you can say, I want to create this ad, and I only want this ad to appear to the people who, if I did a farm area in the beaches, well, I would create an ad targeting everybody who is part of the beaches, who's following the beach hashtag. Like there's an account on that community. So if there's any communities in your area and they have a Twitter profile and a lot of people follow that because they live in that area and they want to know about what's happening on the weekend, well, you can create an ad targeting all of them. I could, if I ran a FSBO business, if I was a prospector and I was all about FSBOs, I would create an ad targeting anybody who follows any of the property guys or anything like that. And then if I was recruiting, I would say ABC Realty. I would target the direct competition down the street and say, I want to go after that brokerage. Anybody who's following that office probably works at that office, and they should see my message. Right? It's all about positioning. So is there any questions on Twitter? Did anybody get value out of that's how you actually can use Twitter now to get business?
Danny, so what you're saying is you can target people who do quotes or hashtags, or they follow an @person.
Yep.
Okay.
So in this section, you can do both.
Okay.
And then this would be, I'd have to run two separate ads
Okay.
if I wanted to do people that are followers of something else.
Okay.
So for me, I might target everybody who is following Brian Buffini
Right.
if I want to get a message across.
Okay.
And then for you, if you had a realtor that was down the street, like the property guys is a perfect example.
Okay.
And the community pages is another really good example because that's kind of like pre-filtered that Twitter tree of like the millions and millions of people to the 1,300 that really fit in the pocket of what you're trying to target. And this company, like Property Guys, they put a bunch of money in and they got all these followers. Well, that's a hot list of people that you could potentially reach out to. Yeah?
Just finishing that, you said you're talking about your advertising. What does it look like, or how does it happen? Does it come up?
Yeah, so you
do
just
a week, you do it for a week.
I would do a regular post with a picture and then the text in it,
Yeah.
and you promote the post. So you create the post first, and then that's what the ad is. And all my advertising has a start and end date, because I don't want to manage when things are running and when they're not. So I always do a start and end date. Because if you have something running for 3 months and there's little ad engagement, then they're just going to shut it off anyways. Like your ad is just going to be showing. The other downfall is maybe it's just going to keep hammering those people in the face and they're going to hate your guts. So you got to play red light, green light with it. So I always do a start and end date to all my advertising.
Which is like a week or
It depends on the campaign. It depends on what the message is, who it depends. It's case by case. Okay, so I want to go into any questions on Twitter before I move on to Facebook? Yeah.
Where's that page to purchase everything? Is it just like it's up in the top and
They don't actually make it too easy to find where to like enroll and become an advertiser. So if you just Google search Twitter advertising, it'll come up. I think it's ads.twitter.com.
okay.
And that's the direct link, but I could be off by that. My Twitter handle is @calldanwood. Call Dan Wood with the @ symbol. So with Facebook, something you guys can all leverage, which is really exciting, is this right here. It's brand new. It's called the custom audiences. So a custom audience is when you can take the email list. So most of us have a database. If you have a website and on that website you have a house value form, well, if a person registers on that house value form, that should be in a database right there of all the name, phone number, and email of these people. Well, when that goes into your system, whatever system you're using, it should tag them or label them as a seller. So if you have a website, you should have, if you have a house value form, you'll have a growing list of people who are looking at the house values in the area, and it could have been happening over the course of years, but they all at one point raised their hand. So maybe you got 50 people in that database that are labeled as sellers, or maybe you got 300. You can take that email. It's an Excel, so whatever you use as your database, I can't get into that, but you can export data from any database. So you export the email of all the people on that seller list, and you can load it right into Facebook. And Facebook is going to check who logs in to Facebook with that email address as their account, and that creates the audience. So yeah, I would now have a direct message of, hey, these are the people in my area that are looking at house values. It's called the Facebook Power Editor, by the way. Power Editor. Just Google search it, Facebook Power Editor, and it's free to set up. It's not free to advertise, but the Facebook Power Editor is free. And the other neat thing is that you can do it by phone. So if you've got a say you have a database, and I don't have everybody's email, but I got everybody's phone, you can put an Excel sheet of all the phone numbers, and if that's on their profile and they log in with it, you got a list. So that's pretty cool, because not everybody has email, but email is the easier way to go.
And after you call it a Power Editor,
yeah.
it only works with Chrome.
True. Oh, yeah. Okay, so if you don't have Chrome, you download it. So what you want, I'm notorious for creating lists and buckets of people and then shaking the tree gently. So if I build a huge list of people that registered on our website looking at homes for sale, I don't drip them like 3 times a week. I might touch them 3 times a year. Like it's very minimal because I hate getting spam, so I don't like spamming people. But when I do reach out to people, it's a targeted message, hitting the right person and hopefully at the right time. So you got the list of all the sellers. Well, you can do every quarter an update on the market in your area. New solds, for example, if you have permission to advertise solds. So just on Facebook, and this is what I'm talking about. The Facebook Power Editor, when you create the ad, it goes in the newsfeed, whether they know you, like you, or not. So they don't have to like your page in order to see your advertising. And if you advertise, they don't have to know you at all personal. So a lot of you want to keep business and personal separate. Well, you can advertise on Facebook, and it's not going to go back to your account, like your personal profile of you having the barbecue with your kids on the weekend. So I would create this list and load it into Facebook, and just 3 or 4 times a year, just do a 1-week campaign reminding them of all the solds we did in the last quarter or something. Now, what about all the buyers? Take your Treb list of all the people on the prospect match search. Get everybody put on there, and then you can just constantly keep advertising new listings. Like I know you've already got them and they're in your system, but how many of you have got internet leads, but you've never made contact voice to voice, and they never responded to email? Most hands should go up because most internet leads are like that. So this is perfect for that because those people never re-engaged with you. So it's a passive way, and when I say passive, it's because if they don't click on the ad, you don't pay with Facebook. So it's pay-per-click. If you set it up that way, you have to set it up as a pay-per-click. And when you do that, you're only paying when the people actually click on the ad. So all those other thousands and thousands of impressions you're getting is thousands and thousands of reminders equivalent to you getting a Bench Plus. Like the same reason of why you would get a Bench Plus ad is because you want to build mindshare of who you are and what you do. Well, this is a targeted mindshare approach, speaking the language of what those people raise their hand about. If you have a list of all the investors in your area, just every quarter you can just start advertising on Facebook all the deals, like the new duplexes and triplexes and multiplexes in the area, and all the homes that we feel are undervalued and probably could do for a fix and flip. And then your sphere, this is the big one that all of us should have, is you can take your database right out of whatever contact management you use, load it into the Facebook Power Editor, and now, I'm not saying don't do the monthly newsletter, but this is, you're going to still get the same thing you want, which is the building mindshare, reminding them who you are and what you do. And you can do that for, say you got a client appreciation event coming up. Do you know how much work it is to get people to get enrolled and commit to coming to your event? You got to plan it, you got to call them, and you got to call them, and then you got to keep calling because they don't commit, and you don't know how many numbers are showing up. Well, you can have this ad showing the people of your new event, or if it's an office party or an office event, stuff like that. This also works with realtors. How many of you do agent-to-agent referrals? And how many of you have like a ton of agent emails? If you don't have a ton of agent emails, how many of you have LinkedIn? Most hands. How many of you don't use it? Most hands. But if you look in that circle, most of them are realtors. Well, you can save that. Well, you may not know, but you can export the list of LinkedIn. That gives you the name and email of everybody on that list, and then you just load it in Facebook and remind them, hey, I do real estate in Durham, or I do real estate in Oakville, or I'm wherever, Peterborough. And you're just reminding them periodically. So you just shake the tree, broadcast a message, let it run for a couple weeks, and cut it. And then come back to it in 3 weeks, or like 3 months or something. But once you have these set, then it's just like an on-off button. It's so easy to manage your advertising once you have it set up. Now, you also, when you do advertising on Facebook, it's like criteria. The rules are, I want my ad to show the people in these areas. You can't do by postal code in Canada, but you can do by city. So I could say, who are all the people in Toronto who are over the age of 24? Leave men and women open unless you're looking for something. And languages, I always put English because I don't want my message to have come across somebody who I wouldn't be able to convert on the phone. However, you can look at that on the flip scale and you can say, who are the people that only speak that language? Maybe that's your niche. So you can create an ad for your city targeting certain demographics of the people who only speak that language. Very minimal in advertising expense when you set things up like this. And there's more demographics that you can target. The biggest ones that we can leverage is the engaged status. So people on Facebook, they're super excited. They just went from single to engaged and they're telling everybody about it. Well, they just told Facebook and now they're indexed as Facebook as somebody who's newly engaged. And now we as advertisers can use that to position our ads so that they see it. We can also say, who are all the people that are expecting? So that's crazy that Facebook knows the expecting. Normally, people post like, oh, we had a baby. But they're listening to people saying, we're having a baby. So how many have sold a home to a couple who's having a baby and they're buying the home because they're having a baby? There's a lot of people on an ongoing basis that are having babies that probably need a bigger space. And when they, after they've had the baby, they're no longer expecting, or after they've gone from engaged to married, they'll no longer see the ad. So the ad can run forever, and it's always targeting that next crop of people who are engaged and having babies and moving forward in life. And then you can also target people based on what school they're going to. So if you live in a university town, you can target all the people going to that specific school and have like a 5-minute video webinar saying, hey guys, show your parents this video on how they can buy a property, you can live rent-free and get ahead of all the agents or get ahead of all the students no matter how bad you do in school. Ha ha ha. Right? So that's really cool. You can really look at how you can break down a person's profile and then create a message, and it's rule-based. Because if those rules aren't met, your ad won't appear to that person.
Danny?
Yeah.
Well, can you market YouTube videos
Yeah.
or only landing pages? Because I tried it with YouTube and Facebook for some reason said, sorry, we're not going to allow you to advertise YouTube.
Yeah, you can. So
Okay.
you have to put the YouTube on your business page as a post, and then promote the post.
So, okay, so that's what it is. Not the actual video. You have to take them to the post. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I would do anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, because, yeah.
I have a question about insurance. So that's a personal post, and they said tell their friends, and Facebook finds that. Because I'll search neighborhoods, and I'll put that in, but I'm like not really sure what I'm doing.
Right, okay. So yeah, so with interest, in this box, in the interest box, when you start typing something, it will pre-populate. So if it doesn't pre-populate, it's not an option. So I'm actually going to show you some examples of interests that we can actually search and target. Yeah?
With regards to postal codes, there's some, I've heard different information. Is that going to be approved in Canada?
I don't know, but I don't know. On Google you can. And on Bing and the other advertising, but with Facebook and Twitter, not yet. Yeah?
Is it fair to say something you're interested in and you've liked on Facebook? So if I like Remax, I'm then interested in Remax?
Yeah, so yeah, you can target people based on what they like.
Is it different? Like,
It's one and the same thing. You can target people based on what they like, but you can also target people based on what's on their profile and what they typed manually. So it's kind of across the both. So here's some examples of how you can actually target people based on their interests. So I'm going to target the Toronto investors, and I'm targeting the Toronto area, people who are over the age of 24, and they have to be, and I typed this in that interest box, and it's populated. So there are real estate investing, creative real estate investing club, or real estate investors. There's 44,000 people right now in the area that have raised their hand and said, this is who I am. So now you can create this is all these rules, and when these are set, now I want my investing in real estate seminar to come across their screen, or my duplex property tour come across their screen, or hot sheet of deals or something. So if you're doing a Toronto seminar, I could say, who are all the people in the Toronto area, 24 and older, that like Rich Dad Poor Dad? 11,000 people have raised their hand in Toronto that say they like Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is really big on real estate investing seminars. So maybe if you created an ad about an investing club, a free real estate investing club with hot deals before the other investors join us now, that's a real targeted message, and it's only to a smaller group of people, but it's a message that relates to who they are and what they're up to. Toronto sellers. So all of you guys want listings. So, okay, let's target Toronto. So the other ones, I targeted Toronto area. This one I targeted just Toronto. So I'm saying who's only in Toronto, 45 and older and engaged. Do you know why? Okay, so there's a reason for this. These people have equity in their property. No, there's 3,000 people right now, 45.
I know, it's ridiculous.
45 and older, getting engaged, there's 3,000. So there's potentially 2 homes that they have to sell if they're going to combine and move into one. They've got equity in their property. So it's a really smart message for you to target. You can also say, oh, I want to target the people that are like 24 to 35 and then do something on getting your first home, maybe, right? So you can play with the demographics, but if you want sellers, this is a really good one. I mean, you don't have to target the 1 million people, just the 3,000 that actually raised their hand and fit that as a mold. So if you have a team and you're looking at attracting talent, or if you have a brokerage and you're looking at recruiting agents, you can say, who are all the people in Toronto that are 30 and older and interested? So this is where people say they like a page. So I'm saying who are interested in Ontario real estate, Toronto real estate, and Canadian real estate, and there's 11,400 of them as well. So you can create an ad talking about buyer agents needed, joining team, whatever your creative mind can come up with. But you can see how once all these rules are set, your ads just start coming across the right people at the right time.
Danny,
Yeah,
question for you. The ads, are they the ads on the right-hand side or are they the sponsored
Both.
ones that show up in the newsfeed?
they're both. When you create an ad in Facebook, it'll be both, and you have the option of choosing one or the other or none. It depends on what you're up to.
Is that the screen that if they do go to your website, that you can actually embed a cookie and then, because you had that other example where it was the audiobook that pops up, right?
Yeah. I'm going to get to that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
exactly. But yeah, so Facebook and Twitter, all of the advertising platforms allow you to track who clicks your website and then ends up registering a form. So you can track all of that. And what you're talking about with Audible, where they said, oh, Dan Wood is looking at books in this category, we're going to show him this on Facebook. That's called Google remarketing. And I want to get into that right after this. Any other questions on Facebook? Okay. Okay, so Google AdWords. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the search network. You guys have been hammered to death with how you can pay and get your terms across on the first page. So what I want to do is show you the rule-based marketing on getting your ads across to the right people. So besides the search network is where you pay for keywords, there's also the display network, and there's also online video. So let's talk about the online video, because this is a really good idea for the majority of the people in this room. With online video, this would be through Google AdWords, but at the same time it's YouTube. So Google AdWords and YouTube are the same. You would want to log into your Google AdWords, and then you create the rules. So I would say, I want to target only the people in my farm area, And my farm area is not South Oshawa, I did that as a joke. But if I did, this would be my farm area. This would be my farm area, and I would say, okay, Google and YouTube, I only want my video to be suggested to the people in this area. My YouTube video is going to be suggested to the people in that area. When you're creating the ad on YouTube, this is the option right here. So under interest, there's only 3. Real estate investments, we don't want that. Real estate agencies, I don't know how to leverage that yet because I'm not clear on what that is. But real estate listings. So when a person is on YouTube looking at all the virtual tours, you know, we get a virtual tour and then we get a video on YouTube. Well, when people are watching real estate listings on YouTube and they're sitting in your farm area, guess whose video is going to play as the advertisement? Yours. And you only pay if they watch after 30 seconds. Most people skip the first 5. So if you have your intro to that video and say, hey, it's Dan Wood, and get your name in there for the branding, and we're happy to feature XYZ property, you can say that in 5 seconds, so you just got your rebranding in and you're not paying for it. Now, these people are on YouTube looking at listings for sale. You're only paying in your farm area or in your community. So it makes a lot of sense for you to target every week, just change the video to the new listing. Especially you guys that have a lot of listings, you can have a new one every week, and you're just going to get more and more views. And the more views you get on YouTube, the more you're going to get organic search results because you're popular and people like what you're up to. And this is where so this would be like, that's a screenshot of what the video, you know how the videos have a thumbnail? I did like a little pretty picture, but yours will be a picture of the house or a picture of you or something. And then you can say featured listing in the area and you got all your broker info, and in the description it has all your broker info. And the ad plays when they're watching the videos, and then if they don't, it's suggested up at the top. So all the time, your message is just always there. And it's very, very cheap for you to do that. Hey.
Well, so then you just set the search area on the map.
Yeah, so you could do condos, right? Only the condo area.
And how does Google, is it just by Google? Oh, but how do they know, like if I'm on my Google channel, how do they know where I am?
They're crazy, I have no idea.
Okay. they just know.
They know you're having babies and they know where you are.
Constant scrutiny.
So one of the other cool things with YouTube when you promote a video is that you can promote videos based on the keywords. So you can suggest just anybody generally looking at listings in my farm area, I want my videos to appear. But then you can also do keywords. So I could say, okay, YouTube, if anybody is searching and looking at anything to do with course 3, somebody who's about to graduate, I want my office video to appear. That's very targeted, right? If anybody is typing and watching any video that has these keywords, Toronto bungalows, to appear, I want my video to show up as a recommendation over on the right about list of Toronto bungalows for sale. Click the link in the description. A farm area. How many of you have a community or neighborhood video? A few of you. Perfect. So, as you and other realtors could target any other person who has a community video, and you can say whatever that community is. So, Whitby Shores. If anybody is watching any videos with Whitby Shores, if that was my farm area, then I want my video to appear. So if you're all about the beaches, you can create a community video about the beaches and target anybody who's living in the beaches watching videos about the beaches. That, you know, your message is going to be connecting with the right people. And then same with anybody sitting in your neighborhood watching real estate investing courses, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, any of that. You can give a long laundry list of what you want to appear for. It's so cool. You couldn't do that years ago, and it's so cool. So, question?
Just curious, after you've gained their audience, what's the call to action? Like, what's sort of the next step to engage that client or customer?
Well, okay, well, it's case by case, each one is totally different, right? So if it was investing, you would want to have a squeeze page getting named. Everything's about getting a squeeze page. So it's all about driving them to one page that talks about that one topic that offers their information in exchange for something. That's what the game is.
Right.
So it all depends on what your topic is.
So for example, they're watching your video on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
There's a link to a squeeze page.
Yes. Yeah, in the description. And if you're techie enough, it's link annotation. But I don't want to get into that because most people can't do it. But write that down if you have interest. When a person is watching a YouTube video, they can actually click a link right in the video, and it will take them to your website. But you have to have somebody help you with that. Sure. There was a question?
Yeah, that link, is that in the ad as well? Because if I'm searching something else and your ad pops up, in the description, it's not your information, it's the video that I'm actually trying to view, right?
Yeah.
So,
when you do the ad on YouTube,
yeah.
at this stage here, when it says what's the headline description and description, it says what's the link. So it'll actually, you put whatever you want them to land on.
They have to put that, get to where it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you actually do it, step by step, and just fill in the blank. It'll say what's the description, you just, whatever your description is, what's the landing page, and you put whatever the landing page is. Hey.
Yes. Do you set the budget first, or how does the budget come?
The budget they do the budgeting after you set everything up because you're so invested in time. They don't throw the budget at the beginning. It's always at the end as the final confirmation.
So when you put all the stuff in, it'll tell you what the cost is? Or do you sit up there and say, I only want to spend so much? Max cost per view, for example.
Right. So I do everything on a daily budget. So I would say I'm willing to pay $2 a day for this video, or whatever your budget is. I just say $2.
Okay, and then what happens? Suppose what you picked is greater than $2. It tells you what it is, or what?
It'll tell it'll tell you that you're missing out on all those other opportunities. So it'll tell you this is how many views you could have had if you paid more. And if you say, I'm going to run an ad from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, and I'm willing to pay $2 a day, then they'll tell you how much you're going to end up paying at the end of the month if it reaches. Yeah?
Yeah, so Danny, I'm marketing, let's say, a content project on YouTube. So what happens, I've done all the keywords, everything.
Yeah.
It's getting lots of hits. But then all of a sudden, after my ad, all the same ads are coming up. I don't want that. I want them to see my ad and maybe ads about sports, nothing to do with my competitors. How do you stop, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I was prepared for that question. So
Oh,
I got the answer.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah, no,
about.
I got the answer. And so over on the right, it's all suggested videos that are relating to that video. So if all your videos, put them into a YouTube playlist.
Okay.
And have the same description of like who you are as a person and your company at the bottom in the description, and have it on the playlist. That way when somebody is watching a video from that playlist, most of them are going to be from the other videos in the playlist. That's a roundabout way.
That's a roundabout, okay.
Yeah, it's not a real answer.
Well,
it is and it isn't. Okay. Okay, so Google remarketing. This is where if a person comes to your website, we can advertise based on what I showed you at the beginning. So the Tom Ferry targeting me because I looked at his coaching pricing, and the Calgary Hotel and the bookstore. All of those were all based on remarketing. And what's awesome about remarketing is that it takes your ad and it will put it on any website. Now I think I took the slide out. Let me go forward one. Yeah, I did. So on Facebook, you know those time wasters where people are like 50 funny photos, number 1, 5, and 73 shot the heck out of me. You know those like time wasting videos? Okay, I hate them. And I love them. Why do I love them? Because if you look at those websites, they've all got Google advertising on it. So that means my ads can appear. A lot of people in Oshawa are wasting their time. And now I got my ads branded to them based on that information. So those things are actually really good. Encourage people to go into them. So this is where, when you advertise on Google remarketing, this is Kijiji, and here's my ad here. This is YouTube, and here's an ad here and an ad here. You don't have to advertise on YouTube and have a YouTube video. You can advertise a link. So that's an answer to your question there. Because when they click on the link, it will go to your website instead of another video, right? And it takes them from YouTube to your website with listings and your squeeze page. So I love Google remarketing for this reason. Now, how Google remarketing works, here's a website right here. See this URL? It says openhouse-tour.com/listings and the address Oshawa. Boom. I can tell Google if anybody is on this website and in the URL it says Oshawa, tag them as Oshawa. Now you have a growing list of all the people who are looking at Oshawa. You can tag all the people that look at my house value page. Your website is www.com/house values, something like that, right? Well, you can tell Google anybody who lands on this URL, tag them as a seller. So here's some examples of tagging at its finest. So I said with Brokerage Nation, in the last 30 days, I tagged everybody who came. So we got 3,800 people. Of those 38 people, I tagged who came but did not subscribe, 2,600. So we had a pretty good number of people subscribe in 30 days to our website. And then of those people, who are the people that are looking at the recruiting website? 1,100. Well, now that I have, see how there's a checkbox? Boom, boom, boom. Each one of those is a list that I can shake the tree. So when I have a webinar for the broker owner managers, I can just say, okay, I'm ready to target these people and I want to run it for a week. So you can say, who are all the people that come to my website and look at condominiums? Now you got a condominium list. Who are all the people that come to my website and look at house values? Oh, here, I said over here. All the visitors, so I would make one capturing everybody. With Google remarketing, I would also say, who are all the people that are looking at listings in your city or area, breaking it down. Have another list for house values, condos, luxury. So you could have it, if in the URL, the price is $1 million or more, or whatever luxury is in your area, you can start creating a list of all the luxury buyers. And they didn't give you all their information yet, but when they leave your website and go to Kijiji, or when they leave your website and go to YouTube, your banner ad is, boom, talking about luxury real estate, and it brings them back. Because maybe they got distracted, and they didn't have time to fill in the form. And you only pay when the people click. So you might as well have your ad running and targeting these people. What if people are on my website and they're looking at rentals, but they're looking at rentals over 1,800? Well, I can create a rule that says I want to target all these people and bring them back to my website on a squeeze page talking about how you can buy a home and own it for 1,500. Why rent when you can buy? And it's like a short 2-minute video. Fill in the form here and we'll get you all the info. So these people, that's another creative way of remarketing. So, questions on the remarketing part? Yeah.
Sorry, so that was the Google remarketing. What about the Facebook remarketing? Like how did, again?
I didn't get into that, but everything I just said, you can do the exact same thing with a company called AdRoll. ADROLL, AdRoll. Because Google and Facebook hate each other. They're competition. So you can't use Google to remarket, but you can use AdRoll. So you can do all these things I just said, exactly like Google remarketing, only you do it through AdRoll, and then they take your ad and put it on Facebook. Now there's a higher cost because you got like 2 people involved, but it's still a highly targeted for sure.
Great, thanks.
We've only got a couple minutes, so I'll still answer your questions. And I got 2 examples of rule-based marketing if you want to take a picture of this screen. It's really small. If you give me your card, I'm going to send you the recording of this anyways. But here's an example of rule-based advertising. Okay, I want to target all the house values. So on Facebook, I'm going to create each one of these bullets as an ad. So one ad is going to say all the people, all the seller of Facebook. At the beginning, I said the Power Editor, how you can export the Excel sheet of all the people who filled in a form on your website. So I created a list in the Power Editor. So I want to make one ad targeting all those people. I'm going to make another ad targeting all the people who are in Toronto, 40 and over, and engaged. So that's 2 ads based on those rules. For the Google Display Network, I'm going to say, I'm going to target all the pages that have these keywords, house values, sell your home, and the list would go on. That's one ad. It's going to be a banner ad, and it's any page that has those terms on it, and they would have to be living in Toronto. I'm going to create another one that says anybody who looked at my seller page on my website. So I want to use Google remarketing and say if they came to my seller page, I want to hit them. And then obviously I didn't go into Google search because we talked about it like for years and years, but you might as well be there and say who's in my city or at least in my farm area. If anybody in my farm area searches Toronto house values, Toronto home values, and Toronto real estate values, those people you want to connect with, even if you only spend 15 bucks of money on, if it's not like effective targeting like that. So what I like to do is create little buckets and turn them on and off, and you find out what works for you and what doesn't. But hopefully this session inspires you on ways that you didn't know you could create this type of advertising. So I'll leave this up on the screen because not most of you are going to do investing in real estate. But take a picture and ask me a question. We got 5 minutes.